If you've ever looked at part of your garden and thought, nothing can grow here because it doesn't get enough sun, then that belief alone may be costing you more food than you realize. Shade is often treated like wasted space, but in reality, it can be one of the most productive environments when you understand how plants respond to light. Not every vegetable wants intense sun all day long. Some actually struggle under it. And once you learn which vegetables are naturally adapted to softer light, you begin to see shaded spaces not as limitations, but as opportunities hiding in plain sight. Welcome to Daily Plant Life, where we explore how plants actually grow, how they respond to real environments, and how you can work with nature instead of against it. If you enjoy calm, detailed gardening content that helps you grow smarter and more confidently, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. It helps Daily Plant Life reach more gardeners who want practical knowledge, not shortcuts. Today we're diving deep into vegetables that don't just survive in shade, but truly thrive there. These are vegetables that grow better with filtered light, partial shade, or limited direct sun. If your garden has areas blocked by walls, fences, trees, or buildings, this video will show you how those spaces can still produce real food. Vegetable number 1, spinach. Spinach is one of the clearest examples of a vegetable that actually prefers shade over strong sunlight. In nature, spinach evolved to grow in cooler seasons and protected environments, where light is present but not overwhelming. When spinach is exposed to intense sun for long hours, it reacts by rushing its life cycle. It bolts quickly, sends up flower stalks, and turns bitter, effectively ending its usefulness as a leafy vegetable. Shade slows this entire process down in the best possible way. In shaded garden spaces, spinach grows with a sense of balance. The leaves expand steadily rather than rapidly, allowing the plant to develop structure and softness at the same time. Because the soil remains cooler and retains moisture longer, spinach experiences less stress between watering cycles. This stable environment results in leaves that are consistently tender, deeply colored, and far more pleasant to eat than sun-stressed spinach. Another reason spinach excels in shade is its harvesting pattern. Spinach is not a one-time harvest crop. By cutting outer leaves and leaving the center intact, the plant continues producing new growth over an extended period. Shade supports this regrowth cycle by preventing exhaustion. Instead of burning energy to survive heat and dryness, the plant directs its energy toward producing usable leaves again and again. Over time, spinach teaches an important lesson about shaded gardening. Productivity doesn't come from forcing plants into extreme conditions. It comes from matching plants to environments where they feel comfortable. In shade, spinach doesn't just grow, it settles in, producing calmly and consistently, turning overlooked spaces into reliable food sources. Vegetable number 2, lettuce. Lettuce is another vegetable that reveals its full potential when grown away from harsh sunlight. While many people plant lettuce in open, sunny beds, this often leads to frustration. Leaves become bitter, plants bolt prematurely, and harvest windows close far too quickly. Shade changes this entire experience by slowing lettuce down and allowing it to remain productive for much longer. In shaded areas, lettuce grows with softer leaf texture and better moisture balance. The reduced sunlight limits water loss through evaporation, which means the plant stays hydrated without constant intervention. This makes lettuce far more forgiving, especially for gardeners who want steady results without constant monitoring. The leaves remain crisp and usable instead of wilting or toughening. Shade also allows lettuce to be harvested gradually rather than all at once. Instead of pulling up entire plants, you can remove outer leaves while allowing the inner growth to continue developing. This approach stretches a single planting across many meals. Shaded conditions protect the plant from stress during this repeated harvesting, extending its lifespan significantly. What lettuce shows us is that shade doesn't reduce yield. It redistributes it over time. Instead of a short burst of growth followed by decline, shaded lettuce offers steady, predictable harvests. This reliability turns shaded garden areas into dependable sources of fresh greens rather than risky planting zones. Vegetable number 3, kale. Kale is often described as a tough, resilient vegetable, but that toughness doesn't mean it prefers harsh conditions. In fact, kale grown in intense sunlight can become overly fibrous, thick, and bitter. Partial shade softens these extremes, creating an environment where kale can grow with more control and better balance. In shaded spaces, kale develops leaves at a slower pace, which improves both texture and flavor. The plant maintains stronger moisture levels and experiences less heat stress, resulting in leaves that are firm yet tender. This controlled growth also reduces damage from sun scorch and dehydration, which can weaken plants over time. Kale's structure makes it especially suited to partial shade. Its broad leaves are efficient at capturing available light, even when sunlight is filtered. This allows kale to photosynthesize effectively without needing full exposure. Areas that receive morning light and afternoon shade are particularly ideal as they provide energy without overheating the plant. Over the long term, kale becomes one of the most reliable producers in shaded gardens. It continues growing when other vegetables slow down, adapts well to changing temperatures, and responds positively to regular harvesting. In shade, kale doesn't just survive. It matures into a steady, dependable source of food. Vegetable number 4, Swiss chard. Swiss chard is one of the most forgiving and adaptable vegetables you can grow in a shaded garden space, yet it's often overlooked because of how bold and colorful it appears. Many assume that vibrant plants require intense sunlight, but Swiss chard actually performs better when protected from harsh exposure. In full sun, chard can wilt quickly, lose moisture rapidly, and struggle to maintain steady leaf production. Shade creates a calmer environment where the plant can grow with less stress. In shaded or partially shaded areas, Swiss chard focuses its energy on building strong stems and broad, flexible leaves. Because the soil remains cooler and moisture is retained longer, the plant avoids the constant cycle of dehydration and recovery that weakens growth. This stability allows Swiss chard to produce consistently rather than in short bursts, which is ideal for gardeners who prefer ongoing harvests instead of one-time yields. Another reason Swiss chard excels in shade is its harvesting style. Like spinach and lettuce, it responds well to selective harvesting. By removing outer leaves and allowing the center to continue growing, the plant enters a rhythm of continuous production. Shade supports this rhythm by preventing exhaustion. The leaves regrow steadily, maintaining quality rather than declining over time. Swiss chard also brings visual life to shaded spaces that might otherwise feel dull or unused. Its colorful stems and deep green leaves thrive without sun damage, proving that productivity and beauty can coexist. Over time, Swiss chard becomes a foundational crop in shaded gardens, delivering both reliable harvests and long-term stability. Vegetable number 5, arugula. Arugula is a fast-growing leafy vegetable that responds almost immediately to changes in light, which makes shade one of its greatest allies. In strong sunlight, arugula grows too quickly, rushing toward flowering and developing an overly sharp, bitter flavor. Shade slows this process just enough to improve both taste and texture, allowing the leaves to mature with balance rather than urgency. In shaded environments, arugula benefits from consistent soil moisture and reduced temperature fluctuations. These conditions support even germination and uniform growth, reducing patchy harvests and uneven leaf sizes. Because the plant isn't constantly fighting heat stress, it produces leaves that are tender, full, and easier to manage in the kitchen. Arugula's growth habit makes it especially suited to shaded gardens because it thrives under frequent harvesting. You can cut young leaves repeatedly, and the plant responds by sending out fresh growth. Shade allows this cycle to continue longer without triggering flowering. Instead of a short production window, you get extended usefulness from a single planting. What arugula demonstrates beautifully is how shade refines flavor rather than reducing yield. The leaves maintain their signature character without becoming overpowering. For gardeners working with limited sunlight, arugula offers quick results, low effort, and a surprisingly high return from spaces that might otherwise remain empty. Vegetable number 6, radishes. Radishes are often misunderstood as sun-dependent vegetables, but in reality, they perform far better in cooler, partially shaded conditions. When grown in full sun, especially in warmer environments, radishes tend to grow too quickly. This rapid growth often leads to woody texture, hollow centers, or sharp, unpleasant flavors. Shade slows the process and allows proper root development. In shaded garden spaces, radishes develop at a controlled pace. The soil stays cooler and retains moisture, which is essential for consistent root formation. Instead of rushing to maturity, the plant builds structure gradually, producing crisp, firm radishes with balanced flavor. This makes shade one of the best environments for quality rather than speed. Radishes also benefit from shade because of their shallow root systems. They don't require deep soil, making them ideal for containers or raised beds placed in low-light areas. Shade reduces evaporation, so the soil remains evenly moist, which is critical for preventing cracking and bitterness. Perhaps the greatest advantage of radishes in shaded gardens is how quickly they still produce results. Even with slower growth, radishes remain one of the fastest vegetables to harvest. This creates a sense of momentum in shaded spaces, proving that low-light areas can still deliver fast, tangible rewards when planted thoughtfully. Vegetable number 7, beets. Beets are often thought of as vegetables that require full sun to develop properly, but in reality, they perform exceptionally well in partial shade. What beets truly need is stable soil temperature and consistent moisture, both of which shaded garden spaces naturally provide. Excessive sunlight can dry out the soil too quickly, forcing the plant into stress responses that affect root shape and flavor. Shade removes this pressure and allows beets to grow with balance. In shaded conditions, beets develop roots more evenly. Instead of rushing growth above ground, the plant allocates energy steadily between leaves and roots. This results in smoother, rounder beets with better internal texture. The greens also benefit from shade, remaining tender and usable for cooking rather than becoming thick or bitter. Shade-grown beets are especially valuable because they provide 2 harvests from one plant. The leaves can be harvested gradually, while the root continues developing below the surface. Shaded environments support this dual harvest by reducing stress, allowing the plant to recover easily after leaf removal. Over time, beets show that root vegetables don't need extreme conditions to thrive. They need consistency. Shade delivers that consistency, turning areas with limited light into dependable sources of both roots and greens. Vegetable number 8. Broccoli. Broccoli is a vegetable that strongly prefers cooler conditions, which makes partial shade a powerful advantage rather than a limitation. In intense sunlight, broccoli often struggles with heat stress, producing loose or underdeveloped heads. Shade moderates temperature, creating a more controlled environment where the plant can grow steadily and predictably. In shaded spaces, broccoli develops slowly, and this slower pace improves head formation. The plant has time to build structure rather than rushing to maturity. Leaves remain lush and functional, supporting energy production without overheating or drying out. Moisture retention is another key benefit of shade for broccoli. Because shaded soil loses water more slowly, the plant experiences fewer growth interruptions. This consistency helps prevent common problems like bitterness, premature flowering, or uneven head development. Broccoli demonstrates how shade extends productivity rather than reducing it. Instead of racing against heat, the plant matures at the right pace, delivering higher quality harvests from spaces that might otherwise be avoided. Vegetable number 9, peas. Peas are naturally adapted to cooler climates and gentle sunlight, making them ideal candidates for shaded garden areas. Excessive heat causes peas to stop flowering and producing pods, but shade protects them from these temperature spikes. This creates a longer and more reliable growing season. In partial shade, pea plants grow steadily, forming strong vines and healthy foliage. The reduced stress allows flowers to develop fully and transition into pods without interruption. This leads to more consistent yields over time rather than a short burst followed by decline. Shade also helps peas by stabilizing soil moisture. Because peas rely heavily on even hydration during flowering and pod formation, shaded soil provides a natural advantage. This stability improves pod quality, size, and flavor. Vertical growth further increases peas' suitability for shaded spaces. By growing upward rather than outward, peas maximize limited light while producing generously. This makes them one of the most efficient vegetables for gardens with restricted sun exposure. Vegetable number 10, green onions, spring onions. Green onions are one of the most adaptable vegetables you can grow, making them a perfect choice for shaded garden spaces. Unlike fruiting crops that depend on intense sunlight, green onions focus their energy on leaf production, which requires far less light. This allows them to grow steadily even in low-light environments. In shade, green onions develop at a controlled pace, producing tender, flavorful stalks without stress. Because they are harvested by cutting rather than uprooting, the plant continues regenerating from the same base. Shade supports this regrowth cycle by preventing dehydration and exhaustion. Green onions also thrive in tight or unconventional spaces. Narrow strips of soil near walls, fences, or shaded garden edges are often unsuitable for other vegetables, but green onions perform exceptionally well there. This turns overlooked areas into productive zones with almost no effort. Over time, green onions prove that shade does not mean low yield. With minimal care, they provide continuous harvests from spaces that would otherwise remain unused, reinforcing the idea that productive gardens are built through smart placement, not just sunlight. Shaded garden spaces are often ignored because they don't fit the traditional image of vegetable growing, but as you've seen, shade can be an advantage when matched with the right plants. These vegetables don't fight against low light. They work with it, producing calmly, consistently, and with better quality over time. When you stop forcing every plant into full sun and instead allow each vegetable to grow where it feels most comfortable, your garden becomes more efficient and more productive without expanding its footprint. Shade isn't wasted space, it's untapped potential. Thank you for spending this time with Daily Plant Life. If this video helped you see your garden differently, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more calm, in-depth plant knowledge. Until next time, keep growing with intention,